You are watching The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman, exclusively on ABC Amber TV.
Sovereign silhouette, the emblem of Ambazonia. From the azure embrace of the Atlantic reflecting from the Amber's Bay, the iconic Fako mountain ascends with a silent, stoic grace, carving a silhouette against the sky. This towering sentinel is more than a geographical marvel. It is the heart of southern Cameroons, the stoic guardian of Ambazonia, a symbol steadfast as the unyielding spirit manifests in the unity of the land's 13th counties. Encircling this earthen spire, a dove of peace edges its arc, untouched and serene. As it soars with wings unfurled, it casts shadows upon the land, each feather a brushstroke of tranquility. Against the canvas of the heavens, 13 stars glimmer, the celestial acknowledgement of each county's shared dreams and harmonious virtues. The dove, in its eternal flight, is not merely a bird, but an embodiment of the collective longing for a peaceful existence under a shared identity. Beneath the mountain top, firmly grounded in the richness of the earth, twin elephant tusks rise as natural monuments. Their arcs, regal and commanding, capture the noble essence of the land spirit animals. This emblem, this seal of Ambazonia, is no mere insignia. It is the beacon that illuminates the path to shared prosperity. It is an oasis of unity in a world parched by discord, a visual whisper of a nation's promise, echoing across generations. Every curve, every symbol within the emblem tells the story of Southern Cameroons, an epic scripted by the enduring strength and unity of its communities, each page imbued with the hopes and enduring spirit of its people. Sovereign silhouette, the emblem of Ambazonia.
Hello, Southern Cameroonians. Hello, Ambazonians. Welcome to The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman. Today is January 19th, 2024. And this is our first show of the year. Let me start by saying Happy New Year. And I hope you all had a wonderful January 1st. Today, on The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman, we'll be talking about what affects Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia and what affects La République du Cameroun. And to delve into this matter, I have one of our favorite guests, Dr. Fred Lobadi, who will share so much information on this program. Welcome to the Horizon, Dr. Lobadi.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here with you again and our people. We hope that we'll be able to share good, um, honest information which reflects the truth.
Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you so much. I'm sure our viewers have been wondering what happened to the Horizon. We didn't come on the first week, the second week, and this is the third week. But we are staying the course and we are happy to be here. Doc, I just want to ask you this question. 2023 was a wonderful year for Southern Cameroons. It was the wonderful year for Ambazonia, for the people of Ambazonia. And before we delve into what is going to be future expectations, I just want you to briefly give me an assessment in your words how you think the year ended for the government of Southern Cameroons or the Federal Republic of Ambazonia.
So, yes, so before I give an assessment of what happened for the government of the former British Southern Cameroon or Ambazonia during the year of 2023, I want to remind our people who we truly are. Remember that we are part of the territory that the Germans had carved out, that the British took control of after the Germans were defeated after the First World War and were controlled with by the British together with Nigeria right up to 1954, when our forefathers, led by Endele and others, left Nigeria to found the first truly democratic government in Africa. That was before Ghana. Ghana got its independence in 1957. So we had already liberated ourselves, separated ourselves from Nigeria, and founded a functional government that was able to exchange hands peacefully without fight, without strong arguments, and even opponents drove together in the same car talking as friends after voting. That means Endele and Foncha were able to drive together in the same car, knowing that one person had been selected by the people and the other had lost. And peacefully, we were able to exchange governments right through to 1961, when basically what happened was that the British lost the Second World War and were in
Mhm.
heavy indebtedness. Most of the European colonies, countries, France in particular, were all in disarray and heavily indebted from the war, and they were looking for all means to retain their African colonies, to basically extract their resources. They remember the Europeans came to Africa in the 1800s and in 1900s to extract our resources when they were developing colonies. And they
Mhm.
have always been coming to us mainly to get our things. They don't care about us. They don't mind killing us. They came for our things. So basically, as we approached our independence, the British and the French agreed to suppress the independence that we had achieved by separating ourselves from Nigeria and being in Boya, practicing true democracy. And basically, Andrew Cohen, representing the French and the British in the United Nations, suppressed the option of independence and forced our forefathers to choose in a plebiscite either to go back to Nigeria or to join La République du Cameroon. And our people argued this mentally, and Foncha's group carried the day. Endele agreed to follow them because it was a discussion that one side had won, and we honestly went to Fumban believing that we were going to discuss with La République du Cameroon to found a federated state of two equal states. But unfortunately, the French uh, accompanied Ahidjo there, and they tricked us, deceived us, and all through our time, they basically dismantled our government that
Mhm.
had practiced since 1954 peacefully exchanging hands without war, and eventually bribed and brought in tricksters like Muna, and then deceived us and co-opted us and tried to colonize us and force themselves upon us. But as things would happen, our people noticed how we were marginalized, oppressed, disadvantaged in the Union. In spite of talking to La République du Cameroon over the years, they would not listen. You can remember even the Munas attempted to say things, they wouldn't listen, and they said that the children would fight in the future. Dinka spoke when Biya unilaterally seceded from the Union by naming the country after his country, as we met in Fumban. So Biya seceded from the Federated Union that we wanted to form. And then, as you know, things culminated in 1990, and people were speaking. You had the all Anglophone meetings in Biya and Bamenda, and we were asking for Federated Union. Again, they wouldn't listen, and they rather listening to Mitterrand, who said that they should rather fight us, and they went and used weapons and fought against us, and this culminated. They were killing our people throughout the years, but this culminated basically since 2016, and our people now took the bull by the horn. And as you remember, on September 22nd of 2017, our people came out in their millions, sweep the streets to declare themselves totally independent from La République du Cameroon. And then La République was shocked when Ayuk Tabe, at the time leading our government that was coming back, declared our independence. And since then, we have had a government that represents the people of Southern Cameroon. The government that had been suppressed by the French using Ahijo and Biya re-emerged in 2017. And as usual, with their way of doing things, they kept coming, trying to kill our people. They've killed over 60,000. They tried in different ways as well to buy off the leaders and make them fight each other. As they say, you conquer by dividing the people. So they tried to divide the hardcore of this government. And unfortunately for them, they have not succeeded because God is on our side. And so, as they keep trying to buy off people, the hardcore government has remained. And you can remember the dark days when they literally picked up the leaders from Nigeria, and we thought we had no more government, but God granted grace, and our current leader, Sako, the president, Sako, emerged and took the mantle that he has carried till today. La République has tried to locate him, buy him off, kill him, or do whatever they can, buy people around him, but they have not succeeded. And in the course of time, this government was called interim, but in 2023, the government was re-established in its fullness. And so now we call it the government of the former British Southern Cameroon, or the government of Ambazonia. It is no longer an interim government, but a government. So I think 2023 was a great year when our government was restored, the institutions were restored, the assembly of the people of the former British Southern Cameroon, or Ambazonia, has been restored. So I think it was a very good year. It ended up well with a great speech by the president. For those who care, you can go and read the details. On the other hand, La République, if you listen to their dying president, who is refusing to acknowledge that he's been a monumental failure of leader, he was rather decrying how their country is literally a heap of refuse.
Well, I'll ask you specific questions about that. Yeah, don't. Yeah, I know you have a lot to talk about that. Thank
So
you
it
so
was a
much.
great year. It was a great year
Yes,
for the people of Ambazonia.
yeah,
Yes.
you've reminded our people exactly where we came from, going back to 1950, early 50s till today. I think that's a great recap. And this education is very important, especially for the young folks, those who are in universities now, those who are young workers that may not really know exactly what those of us who are in our late 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond know about the existence of two separate worlds, La République du Cameroon, and which was East Cameroon and West Cameroon during the so-called federation that never really happened. Thank you so much, Doc. Now, we know a lot is happening in La République right now, and happening in a negative direction. Most countries in Africa uh, are showing growth because of the leaders that they have. La République du Cameroon is really the opposite. It's on a downward spiral, you would say, in all aspects. In all aspects, be it economic aspects, governance, education, healthcare. Doc, I just wanted to find out from you, why do you think this is the case? Because the reason I ask this question in this way is because you know a lot of those who were instrumental in coming up with the constitution. Maybe you should go there. Could you talk to us about how that constitution that was supposed to be a work of both La République de Cameroon and people from Southern Cameroons, how that constitution was supposed to be made and what really transpired?
Yeah, so the country that we call Cameroon, literally La République du Cameroun, has only known two presidents since its independence, actually since 1959, because Ahidjo was picked by the French and imposed on them in 1959. And then when La République acquired its independence on January 1 of 1960, he was the first president. And then the French forced him to hand over power to Biya in 1982, and Biya has been there till today. So La République du Cameroun, which is now over 64 years old, has only known two presidents. And Ahidjo ruled for 22 years, and this other fellow has been there now going 41 or 42 years. So during the first 22 years of Ahidjo, he tried in his own small way, besides being manipulated by the French, to see whether he could hold Cameroon as one and try to do something for Cameroon, and managed. He tried his little best, because if you remember, every 5 years they used to have a development program for the whole country, including when the people of Ambazonia who were with them, believing that they had a union, and they would develop a program for all the different regions equally, equitably, like the high schools. If you remember the high schools that came around 1975, when you had the bilingual high school in Bengwe and Wum and Kambe and everywhere, all over the country. So Ahidjo tried his best. But because Ahidjo was trying to have some level of autonomy for the country, which the French didn't like, they manipulated him and imposed this man who has been, as he calls himself, the best student of Mitterrand, which basically means that he's beholden to the French. He does not have the stamina, he does not have the balls to do anything of his own. He only does what the French tell him. And actually, he had been prepared from his youth as such. His father was a catechist. He grew up within the Catholic Church. I'm not trying to speak against the Catholic Church, but he was molested as a pedophile by the priest, sent to a seminary where they reportedly stole, and they thought he wouldn't qualify to be a priest, sent him to Lycée Leclerc, and then sent him to France. When the Cameroonians were trying to fight for their independence in the late 1950s, and they asked him about his contribution, he said he prefers to be working with the French Secret Service. So he has been an agent of the French Secret Service since his youth in the late 1950s, when he went to France. And Jacques Foccart basically prepared him, as he prepared other African presidents, to basically do what the French want. And that's what he is. So when Ahidjo was trying to develop some wings and develop the country, the French didn't like it. They manipulated and brought him in. And since then, he's been serving the French. If you remember, in one of our programs, we talked about the ideology of the imperialists colonizing African countries and keeping puppets and impoverishing Africa. And their goal is to keep Africa in extreme poverty. Any puppet or any leader who would not listen to them, they will kill, like they did to the president of Tanzania recently, and imposed a woman there who is basically doing their will. So Biya has been a very useful servant to these imperialists, and they have used him to impoverish the country, and the country is literally a reflection of what those imperialists want for poor countries like Cameroon. And so he's allowed everything to be carried away abroad and stored in foreign accounts. He's allowed his ministers to carry everything away and kept the country in abject poverty. And you see the country spiraling only downwards until the point that you wouldn't be able to recognize that country today compared with other countries around. Even other nations that have struggled with the same impact of the imperialists have done some development, but Cameroon is 50 plus years behind those countries. If you care, you leave Cameroon and go around Africa, then you will see exactly what I'm talking about. So the country is going down because Biya is a very useful servant to the French. He does not have a thought of his own. He does not have a plan of his own. He only does what they tell him to do, and he's basically worthless for that country. He's a woeful failure of a leader. That's why the country is spiraling, and it can never develop until he is gone with his ban, and we have a new breed of leaders who truly care about the country and would have the balls to stand up to the imperialists. Otherwise, the country is finished.
Yeah, talking about on a downward spiral, we've seen pictures and videos of streets in the capital, Yaoundé, where you have death along the street for miles, or I should say kilometers and kilometers long. And you see people that go around and just, use the streets as a place for bath. They have their bathroom on the street on the wayside. No sense of shame. The roads are all filled with potholes. When there's rain, they're all flooded, and that is a capital city. Even the airports, when it's rain, you see leaks, and they have to put buckets to collect water in the airports. So this is telling you that a country that was supposed to be developing, because most countries, as the years go by, you find some sort of develop maintenance. That's how you keep roads, you maintain them. That's how you keep your hospitals, you maintain them. That is not in La Republique's language. They don't have that idea that they can maintain things that were built in the past. When something existed in the past, in the long run, it will be completely destroyed, and they have to start from scratch. But Doc, I asked a question that I'm going to go back to just to remind you. We just want to talk briefly about how we really came about with this miserable situation. It's really a miserable situation. You mentioned briefly about Fumban, that when our forefathers went to Fumban, they were supposed to come out of there with some sort of constitution that will make sure that we lived as equal partners. But something happened, and then you mentioned, I'm going to take you to the tripartite conference where somebody was supposed to really solidify that conference. Could you talk to us about that? What happened?
Right. So again, Cameroon has only known two presidents. You had Ahijo, and the era of Ahijo of 22 years is totally separate. And I know Ahijo because I grew up and became an adult to understand why he was still in government. And he sent me abroad to study in Germany. And I know him very well from that perspective. And he was a dictator. People were afraid of making any mention of him because you don't know who may around you may be a spy and can kill you. But Ahijo tried to do something, and the country looked pretty good, and he did his best, in spite of the pressure from the imperialists, to do something for all the country. And the French were the ones who were doing everything possible to undermine the good intention of not only the Ambazonians, but even the people of La République du Cameroun when they thought they were coming to form a union. But the French had a secret plan to basically keep them as their property and use them to exploit the country. So when they couldn't use Ahijo, then they brought Biya. So now, under the Biya era, where I say he is basically a stooge, a perfect stooge, because he's Mitterrand's perfect student, he only does what the French want. He does not have any plan. He's not intelligent enough to talk to the people. The few times he's opened his mouth to say a few things, he fumbled, like you see when he went to that Mo Mohammed conference and said they tried to assimilate us, but they have not succeeded. He acknowledged that they have failed. He acknowledged that all his efforts have been to assimilate us. And then when he came to Washington, D.C. and was acting like a demented person, and he didn't know who was in the hall and things like that, he's not smart enough. Each time he sends even Ambazonia to go and be his campaign manager, as the Achidea chose the, the other one, Ephraim Inonida, he locked up in jail, even Dongute and all of these. They're the people who go around campaigning. Philemon Young, they go around campaigning for him. He is not intelligent enough to speak for just even 30 minutes in public. He's basically an ignorant individual who's dressed up in a suit, moving around, being called the president. But whatever the case, during his era, this BS era, um, the grudges, the disgruntlement of the people of the former British Southern Cameroon, how they have been undermined and their good intentions basically um, taken for granted, came to a head in the 1990s when we literally forced La République into what you may call multi-party democracy. And that's when Frundi emerged. And they tried to oppress it. If you remember, the so-called CPDM stooges went on the street saying that the country was not ready for precipitated democracy. And when Mitterrand gave him the instructions that they should allow some form of democracy, with bribes under the table, then just a few months later, less than 6 months, the same stooges came back that they are now ready for democracy. Even within their party, they played around with the single list, and then they reluctantly allowed SDF, and things were literally hot. The country was going to go to war. Remember, there were ghost towns all across the country. He said, as long as Yaoundé is breathing, the country is alive, because Douala was down. All the country around Ambazonia, Western Province, going to Douala, and other parts of Cameroon were down. And he struggled to survive. So they had to impose what they call a tripartite to sit down and discuss. At that time, there were national conferences going all across Africa. It was in Gabon, in Chad, and other places. And this guy came and said, a national conference in Cameroon is sans objet. He came out of a plane from his popular site from Switzerland and said that there was no purpose for such a meeting in Cameroon. And then they decided to concoct what they call the tripartite meeting. So when they held a tripartite, most of those countries that had a national conference, they made and crafted what they thought was a new constitution and a new form of government with limitations for the rulers, so that the people would feel that there was a change of government. In Cameroon, they formed this tripartite meeting, and they were supposed to revisit this constitution and discuss the things. And at that time, there were an all Anglophone conference, if you remember, in Bamenda and in Biya. Simon Monzo was prominent and a leader at the time. And the Anglophones or the Ambazonians or the people of the British Southern Cameroon put together their thoughts with good intentions to carry forward to the government so that they will sit down and basically craft an honest constitution so that there will be peace in the land and true development. But this was hijacked. They carried the constitutional conference, the purpose for which the tripartite was supposed to hold place. They took it out of the conference and gave it to Joseph Owona to cheer, who just died. And other Ambazonians were participating in there: Simon Monjo, Carlson, Anyangwe, Ekonta Elat, and Benjamin Etoy, and some other, few Francophones, put them to sit by the side and discuss it while they pretended to hold a tripartite meeting. What they meant by tripartite was predominantly CPDM members. Then the so-called independents were all CPDM members. And just to diminish the number of the true, honest, what they call opposition, people who wanted true change in Cameroon, and to silence their voice by claiming that the most of the members of the tripartite wanted what Biya wanted. And people thought that something was happening, but literally nothing happened. This constitutional conference that went to be led by Joseph Owona, when they were going there, the people of the former British Southern Cameroon, Simon Monjo, Carlson Anyangwe, Ekonta Elat, and Benjamin Etoy from Kumba, who had been Minister of Justice, Minister of Transport in La République du Cameroon, different levels, they truly crafted the desires of the people of the former British Cameroon to bring in the constitutional conference. But when they went there, Benjamin Etoy was bribed, and he refused to sign the official document that was written by the people of the former British Southern Cameroon after taking the bribe. Then Joseph Owona said that if the people of the Southern Cameroon keep insisting on having a federation, then the Beti Bulus will secede from Cameroon. They should have allowed them to secede. But anyway, he used that as a threat. And then So they played around and frustrated Carlson Anyangwe and the others. So Carlson Anyangwe took off for South Africa and started teaching in South Africa, where he's been out for a long time now and has been active. And then Ekonta Elak and the others, they all left. Simon Munju, they approached him secretly and bribed him by uh, the government advocating for him to get a United Nations job. So that's how he joined the United Nations, and now he speaks against us for La République du Cameroon because he was bribed. Usually, their main way of doing things, if they cannot kill you, they bribe you under the table. They cannot sit and look at you eye to eye and speak the truth. They can never ever speak truth. They didn't do it in Fumban. They didn't do it with the so-called tripartite and the Constitutional Conference. So Joseph Owona, literally unilaterally in collaboration with the French, crafted what is called the constitution that came out of tripartite. And that constitution was designed to consolidate all power under the hands of Biya and the Betibulus. That's why the government became even more centralized because during the time of Ahijo, people will sit and decide what to do for all the different divisions and provinces. But under Biya, it's only what Biya gives you. And so that constitution concentrated all power in his hands. They pretended that the president will rule for 7 years, renewable once. But as soon as the 7 years were over, they're using Achide Acho with bribes and what they call the Santa Mafia and Jindam. They use them to say that it is undemocratic for a sitting president who is competent to not be able to run again. They changed the constitution. Many provisions of that so-called constitution that was crafted by Joseph Owona were not implemented, like in putting in place the Senate. It took them a long time, under very strong reluctance, to introduce the Senate. And even after they did, they filled it up with people that are stooges that can do nothing, with the Nyat Nifenji and the others. And the same thing they also had in the so-called constitution that Joseph Owona crafted, that before a minister takes office or any government official, they must declare all of their assets. And when they leave, they must declare their assets so we know exactly what they have had because you can estimate from their income what they may have embezzled, which they have never done till today because they have embezzled and stolen too much. Biya has stolen the most. He is the Ali Baba of the 40 thieves. All the money he's carried. I personally believe that he has billions of dollars abroad. All the money from Sonara, all the money in the banks. You can read about Messi and the others he carried away. That's why they don't want to declare their assets because they know that they are all guilty. They are all thieves. So anyway, those provisions have not been done. But they keep changing and implementing which portions of it they like at what time. Now, Joseph Owona unfortunately just died, and we have no pleasure in the death of any individual. We want them to live and have life and enjoy it. But this man is considered to be like the big brain of law in Cameroon, who was teaching University of Yaoundé. That's the one that Biya used. Biya is not intelligent enough to do the things. So Joseph Ouna was dominant. He even became Secretary General of the presidency and so many things. At one time, they thought he was the president because Biya was absent, basically hiding in Switzerland. And Joseph Ouna ruled and controlled everything. So anyway, he crafted this resolution. Now, people need to know who this Joseph Ouna is. His mother is from the Bululand, Kribi area, and his father is from Bangangte. So he is the way we do it in Africa is that a child is literally attributed to come from the home country of his father and not his mother. So Joseph Owona truly is a Bamileke, not a Bulu Beti. But he went and crafted everything to give the impression that he is a Bulu from the Ocean Division by Kribi and centralized all government in the hands of the Bulu Betis. They gave him power to do whatever he wanted. Anything he liked, he just decided they gave it to him. He was so loose that he was sleeping around with everybody, and he acquired HIV and spread it around. I hear that he died from that. That's a different story. We'll leave that alone. But what I want to say here is that after Ahijo Biya reign was marked by the constitution crafted by Joseph Owona with the French, centralizing the government in Biya's hand, where he says the form of government cannot be changed. Remember when the Anglophone Ambazonian problem started, Biya said the form of government cannot be changed. What he wanted was that the centralization in his hands should remain. The control by the Bulu Betis should remain and let the others perish. But they are just wasting their time. That's why the very founder of their philosophy, not only their constitution, but also the Essengan the cult group that controls the Bilibutus is Joseph Owana, and he just perished and died like any other human being is going to die. That's what has happened. And as you see him going, all of that generation with Biya and all his 40 thieves, let me put them all together and call them Alibaba and his 40 thieves, they will all perish and go away, and the country will change. So, with that degradation of the country, where you see the country going backwards. It's not just the streets of Yaoundé where you see trash, dirt all over the place, people standing in public, urinating in the trash, stooling even in the trash, women
Mm-hmm.
going behind huts and urinating as well. The place has literally become a heap of trash, a city, like, we have areas where which are designated to collect all trash to reprocess them, but that trash in La Republique, in the cities of Yaoundé and Douala and all over, they are not even being processed. They have accumulated so much with modern plastic document papers, plastic bottles, that they don't even know what to do with it. The thing has blocked streams, and now Yaoundé easily floods because those plastic things have blocked all the Mfundi River and the others, and the city floods when the rain falls. Now, this debt you see in the open is only the peak of the iceberg. If you enter any of those so-called ministries that you see in Yaoundé, whether it's P&T, when I came back to Cameroon in 1989, when I went to the Ministry of Health to say I finished my studies in Germany, trying to look for a job, and you try to go to the toilet, you'll be shocked. The toilet
Mm-hmm.
has to, the people, there's no toilet paper. People use literal papers that we
Mm-hmm.
used to write on to clean their anuses when they stool, and you cannot flush it, and it blocks the thing. So those things, the trash you see in this town, if you go into those buildings called ministries and whatever and go to the toilet, you will see the same thing. That's what you also see when you arrive and go to the airport. If you arrive Douala and for some reason you want to urinate, you go to you basically try to go back and go somewhere else because the place is just very
If
unhygienic. You can't even find a place to, you'll be jumping over stool to find a spot, not to carry stool on your shoes. That is how that country is. I would not be shocked that even inside the presidency, some of the toilets don't work, and even basic things are not taken care of, because that is their mindset. They don't. It's not in them to keep the
Yeah.
place clean and to develop the country. His purpose, their purpose, is just to steal, carry away, and hide it abroad or in their houses. That's why the country is going down.
Absolutely. It's really a haven for diseases and illnesses when you have a whole capital uh, uh, flooded with death all over the place. Of course, people start getting sick. You have standing water, you have malaria, you know, just proliferating in the whole area. It's a shame. It's a shame, and that's how we want to really compare and contrast, because the Ambazonia that we are fighting for, the Ambazonia that we want to have complete control over, will never be like what La Republique is about. You mentioned something that I just want to connect to um, another conversation. You briefly talked about our history, how our forefathers, Ndele and Foncha, how they worked a little bit together before we are where we are today. But recently, I think about 2 days ago, there was this program on Media Prime where
Mhm.
this professor, they call him Julius Ngo, that's his name, was talking about uh, what he thinks that uh, Southern Cameroonians and Graphi people. Let me use the word Graphi people from northwest Cameroon, and those from the forest people, those from southwest Cameroon, cannot live together as one. So he's there really, you know, professing xenophobia as a professor with no real reasoning behind it. I don't know if you listen to that show
Right.
that they had, but what do you
I,
think about what
I
he said?
listened to it briefly, and I felt very sorry for, not only for the individual, because he spoke like a drunkard. He spoke like a regular drunkard that you would find in a Cameroonian off license, who had drank more than enough and was talking nonsense. And unfortunately, this is the individual that is being portrayed as the great historian of Cameroon that can talk to people. And when people listen to him and he's being called a professor, they think he's saying something. He's just basically making a fool of himself. That those individuals, they are caged. They have no freedom of conscience speaking the truth from their hearts. Plus, they have been indoctrinated to serve the interest of the Biya Esingan regime, and they are speaking the line that they have been, ordered to do. Even what they write what they have been asked to write, knowing that it's truly false. And basically, if you listen to those people, it's like drinking poison. All what they said there is falsehood. When he claims that the people of the Southwest region, as they call them, cannot live with the people of the Northwest region, he's just making a joke of himself. People have always moved all throughout history. And if you study the Earth, just take only our Earth, we don't even want to go into the universe. Most of the people who live in under harsh conditions, they work very hard. So if you see like the countries where you have snow and ice, they think hard how to warm their houses. That's why they brought uh, not only electricity but heaters into the house. That's why they had to find ways to get out of their homes and travel in the ice to go places, to be able to get what they need. So they develop cars and things like that. But if you live in an environment where you are not pressed, almost everything just falls from the tree. When you eat a mango and throw it around, it grows into a tree. You don't need to dig a small hole to put the seed inside. It just grows into a tree. You don't spend time to think. You don't even want to think of dressing. So you hang on the tree, it's almost like a monkey naked, and just eat some fruits. So basically, when you come to the situation in Cameroon or in Africa, you would realize that most of the people who live around the Sahara Desert, where it is harsh, they work very hard. And as you go towards the forested areas, the further you away you are from the fertile forested areas, those people work extremely hard, and they have to find ways to preserve food and what they need for the future for hard times.
Mhm.
So, for example, we have mainly two seasons of the year. We have dry season and rainy season. So most of those people in the northern parts of Cameroon, the savannah and the arid areas, they know how to harvest enough food during the fruitful rainy season and preserve it so that during the dry season they'll be able to have food. But when you go to the forested areas where you can almost harvest anything, most of those people don't know how to work hard. So when the Germans came to Cameroon when after the Berlin conference and they acquired Cameroon, they wanted to plant the plantations that we are proud of, whether it's the palm plantations or the banana plantations. They realized that the people of the southern forested areas couldn't do their job. They couldn't work. So they had to go to the interior to find harder working people and bring them to the south. That is how the people of what they call the northwest region, what they call the people of Bamenda, went to the southwest and were working in what is called CDC because they know how to work. If you take them away, those guys cannot do the thing. The things are going to die. That's why they
Yes.
came there and they work. And if you take a hardworking person from an arid area to a forested area, they will create a beautiful farm because they have that attitude of working hard in them. But you take somebody from a forested area to the arid region, they're going to die. I'm telling you, if you take somebody from Betibul land, all the mouth they're making, and send them, say, to Mwa, they will not survive. They
Mhm.
will not survive there because they wouldn't know how to plant basic things that they need and they're going to die of hunger. So the people are surviving because they've lived under hardship. They know how to take care of themselves and they work for it very hard and they will always succeed. People have always moved all around the world, and you cannot separate them and say, okay, the Southwesterners will live here and the Northwesterners will live there. They will all merge, and history shows that people will move all around the world and travel will increase. So he's just a drunkard who was making noise over there. He didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah, he's really a drunkard because I know that I grew up in Boya. I was born in the early 60s, and my father was transferred to Yaoundé around 72, maybe let's say 10 years later. And I we lived peacefully. there was so much love amongst Southern Cameroonians. We had beautiful streets that were clean and neat. We have sparkling hospitals, and there was nothing like uh, Northwest, Southwest. This only came after the referendum where when Biya decided to create Northwest Southwest. So he is speaking rubbish because from the very beginning there was nothing like Northwest Southwest. So based on that alone, he should really sound foolish as a professor to think that people cannot live together when they have so much going together. They work together as a team. If I have my neighbors that are hardworking, I benefit from them, right? People that are from that, the graphic people, they're hardworking. If they are able to provide food for those who are not able to work as hard as they are, it's a beneficial relationship, to say the least. I want to go back to another topic, Doc. We're talking about how La Republique is on a downward spiral. There was a video that I saw. I don't know if you saw this video. There was a video of one guy who gave up shipping containers. He had a video that went from, I don't know if you saw that video. He basically was complaining that he's giving up that business because how frustrated it is. The goal of shipping containers is to make money. But if you want to do something like that, you end up getting so frustrated that you lose money, what is the point? I bring this to say that a lot of our people that have left La République du Cameroon and come back to the United States or go to Europe or Canada or other developed nations have left out of frustration because they study abroad, they go back to open businesses, and they are frustrated. So you have this brain drain occurring year in, year out. That is one of the reasons that La Republique is on a downward spiral, because the brain, the people that are those who are supposed to develop the land are not being utilized. They're just getting frustrated. Doc, let me have you explain this, talk about all this, especially that
Correct.
video
And
from
that
that.
is done on purpose. Basically, Biya is a coward, like I told you. He's afraid of the intelligentsia who have studied abroad because if they come back, they will push them out. So they did everything possible to keep them away, refuse them from coming back, refuse even dual citizenship, which was already approved in the original fake constitution of Fuman, which basically indicated that any Cameroonian parent child, even if you're born abroad, is a Cameroonian. So even if you're born abroad from a Cameroonian parent, you're a Cameroonian, and you have the right to have multiple nationalities. But they came here and claimed that, oh, you cannot be, and yet those same ministers all have French passports in their pockets and are proud about it. They have multiple other passports just so they can escape when things get hot and the population rises against them. It's meant to protect themselves, the 40 thieves, and keep the others from coming in, and they don't mind the country going down with them because they have stolen everything. They can feed themselves at least while the country is suffering. If you look at the neighboring surrounding countries like Nigeria, like Ghana, these countries have taken advantage of the diaspora. It's the diaspora that develops a country. The people who have a heart for the country is not a foreigner who doesn't know much about that country. For example, you wouldn't be thinking of going to develop Papua New Guinea. You don't know much about Papua New Guinea. You don't have any roots there. But in your own country, you know where your great grandparents are buried. If I take you to my village, I can show you over 20, 50 graves of ancestors going back right through to the 1880s of my ancestors. I can show you where they are buried. So
Right.
I have a reason to go there because that's my route. And so it is the diaspora that develops a country. The other countries have taken advantage of it, like Ghana, Nigeria, I mentioned many others. Their diaspora go abroad, they study, they work, they make money abroad. They have dual citizenship, so they enjoy being Ghanaians or Nigerians, and they also enjoy being, say, Americans or British or whatever European country or country you want to choose, even if it is in Asia. And that way you can carry your wealth that you have accumulated abroad back to your country to improve the condition of the people. That's why those countries are developing very fast. If you look at a small country like Ghana, Ghana is less than one third of the size of the current Cameroon. Remember that the German Cameroon was much bigger, but the current of the size of the current Cameroon, Ghana is less than one third of that. But Ghana has a GDP of over $75 billion, while the Republic of Cameroon is not able to have even just $30 billion. You can
Wow.
see how the country has gone down. It is the diaspora that will bring in the development. And so what has happened is these thieves, these criminals, these crooks, in order to keep themselves in power and protect themselves, have done everything they know to frustrate the diaspora and keep them out so that they can continue to stay in power. And then they abuse and misuse the military to go around killing them and killing people. So when many people try to carry things home, for their own personal use or for
Mm-hmm.
development, they,
Mm-hmm.
they frustrate you. I know people who have bought like old cars here, try to carry it to Cameroon, and they make them pay at the airport, at the seaport, like 5 times what they spend buying those things. And after
Exactly.
taking the money, they still do not recover those things. They lose
Yeah.
them and they got frustrated and left. So if you have lost over $200,000 trying to take just one expedition, why would you spend more of that again trying to go there? So it's done by them, but don't worry about it. It's going to finish. Each time there's a change of government, they will always say the diaspora should come back. So after Biya and his 40 thieves would have been swept into the dustbin of history, even La Republique citizens that are abroad, like these Bamileke that roam in Paris and march all the time, will be allowed to come back, and Ambazonia will be free. Actually, La Republique will break up into many fragments. Ambazonia will be a separate entity. The northern Muslims will break up to be a separate entity. The Bamileke Bassa land will break up to be a separate entity. And the Bulu land that these Bulu Biyas are trying to do will also be a separate entity, and they cannot do anything against it. When they continue discriminating against the Bamilekes, it only leads to that separate country of the Bamileke Bassa land, which is going to be carved out after Ambazonia is gone. That is the destiny of that country.
Absolutely. The same Media Prime last week had a show where the guest was talking about how uh, most of the those who have studied come back and they are only teachers. So you can go and you are a great engineer, or you study nuclear physics, or you study medicine, or any field, or economics, MBA, and all the like. When you come back, you don't have the opportunities to utilize the language or the knowledge that you've accomplished or achieved abroad. You come back and all they're sending you is to go be a professor or a teacher somewhere. And he was making a mockery of the fact that those who are in holding major positions are the elderly. So there are people that are in their 70s, 80s, 90s, uh, name it. Even he mentioned jokingly that the president of the National Assembly was there when he was a child, and is still there now that he has kids. So making the point that a country like that will not progress because you're not using the wealth and knowledge of the youth that have gained new knowledge that can develop roads, can build airplanes, can construct great buildings, and name it. So, Doc, I just wanted to expound on this a little bit as one of the reasons why you see La
Correct.
Republic crumbling.
And that is on purpose. The French have purposefully planned to miseducate, poorly train and educate the citizens of their colonies. Remember that France is not a strong academic country. Like I said, if you do any research, if you go and do research on any topic, you will get a very small paucity of anything from France. And even then, it's so insignificant, you throw it in the trash can. Most of the research you will get from the English speaking nations, not only the United States, all the English speaking nations, and then the Asian nations, And even those other foreign nations will do everything possible to publish their research and documents in English.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So French is a dead end cul-de-sac and is purposely done by the French. And La République du Cameroon basically is a good laboratory where the French have practiced their kind of rubbish that they do to African countries. Remember that Biya is the best student of Mitterrand, so he's a
Right.
stooge of the French, and whatever the French tell him, that's what they do. This person, I listened to him. He was actually talking about teachers or students trained in Cameroon. If you live here in the United States, you realize that government workers are few. You rarely see them. Most of the people you see and you encounter are people who are either self-employed, business-minded people or working for the private sector. The people who work even for the federal government or the state government or the local government, they're few, they're not many.
Right.
And they're not prominent and they don't really earn much. Nobody envies their position because you do much better working for the private sector than for the government. But if you remember in Cameroon, they make you feel that your place in life is to have accomplished a certain grading by the government and work as a
Mm-hmm.
civil servant somewhere. And all the schools were trained to recruit civil servants, whether it's the so-called School of Enam or the Education School and others. So, and when they go and study, all they want is to become a teacher and teach subjects
Mm-hmm.
that don't produce anything. So you see them. Somebody say, "I'm a teacher of philosophy." Okay, so philosophy does not put food in your mouth. You know, philosophy does not protect you when the weather is bad. You need engineers who know what to do. How they like now the population is blossoming. Um, Natural gas products are not as much. Gas is getting more costly in Cameroon, but you can convert the sun, which we have, into energy, even into solar stoves, where people can cook with solar stoves and not with gas bottles. They are not intelligent enough to do that, and yet you can do
Mm-hmm.
that. We have that. The West doesn't have it. People of the northern countries who live in snow country, they don't have it. We have it. It's free. Not to mention nuclear energy, where you can convert almost anything into nuclear power. So it was designed by La République du Cameroon. And then after frustrating the students, after they have gone through their so-called state universities and studied things that are not essential and waited and could not be recruited, and even after they have been recruited, they go for years without being paid. Most of them leave and go abroad. That's why you have over 3,500 teachers of La République du Cameroon who have immigrated to Canada, and they're teachers. They're teaching in Canada, in Canadian schools. Because at least in Canada, they are being paid. In La République du Cameroon, they went on the streets demonstrating. They had the police beat them, and they were not being paid. They would rather pay the police so that they can beat people up. They will not pay, say, teachers or doctors who treat people not to get sick. So basically, it's a designed. It's something that was done on purpose by the Biya regime in collaboration with the French, and and that's why the country is going down. You can imagine that they develop this um, what they want to like falls that generates hydroelectric energy. They hire
Yeah.
the Chinese to develop it, and then they get people who study psychology and sociology and went to Enam and were indoctrinated with French philosophy to serve the French, to take the keys and know how to rule it. No wonder everything perishes after a few years and you don't have the energy that was promised. They promised over 480,000 megawatts, and they're not able to produce 80 after all the money was squandered, and yet nothing is happening. Because they're not engineers. They were never trained to do that. What they were supposed to do was they would have learned what the Chinese were doing and continue doing what after the Chinese are gone. And if they use Cameroonians who have studied abroad, they wouldn't even need the Chinese because we have that knowledge being
Absolutely.
used by the whites abroad. So anyway, it's done on purpose. The imperialists wanted it that way, so we come and serve them. And also, they want to keep Africa in perpetual poverty. And Biya is their best servant. That's basically what's happening. And that's why the country is going down.
Yeah, so look at even one example when we talk about all this waste that they have in their capital city. That is one example that they can use the knowledge, the talent of people that have studied abroad to, to, to come and show them how they can make sure that you don't have waste in cities. Show them means of disposing garbage in major cities. That's just one example, you know, Doc, and they cannot even utilize the knowledge of our people. That's why I'm so thankful that Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia will really be a beacon of light in Africa, because we will have everything in order. We will utilize all the great people that have acquired knowledge on the various disciplines, the various fields, to make sure that Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia is one of the best nations in Africa. Though we're going to be ending the program soon, and I just want us to touch briefly on Biya's address to the nation, because he made that speech on January 1st, or was it December 31st? And most of the time, when presidents come to talk to their people, they're really there to share with the people what great things they've accomplished for the year, and to tell the people what to look forward for the next year. Did you see anything? Did you hear anything remotely close to that in Bia's presentation or address
That
to
was
his
basically a
people?
woeful presentation. Even the new president of Gabon, who had only been there for like 4 months, was able to give a very strong positive balance sheet of his little short time in office. They have been able to pay off their debt. They have developed so many different areas, and he mentioned so many other things that he was going to do. Biya rather was lamenting how things are getting hard, that the Palestinian war was contributing to the cost of the price
Food.
of products in Cameroon. Can you imagine?
Yes.
It's really unfortunate. He was looking for the Israeli-Palestinian thing to justify his failures. Then he was saying that they were going to get the ministers and the so-called administrators who went to Enam, called DOs and governors, to go down on the streets and help to clean the streets. Can you imagine? They have been reduced to what we used to call in British Southern Cameroon sanitary officers. We used to have officers that went down on the streets and helped clean the streets, keep the place clean, checked on the where they have the lavatories, or where they used to slaughter houses, make sure that flies were not touching the meat, and that everything was in order and the environment was clean and well protected. And they brought all these French speaking idiots, and they came and destroyed our society. And today we have that is over there now in our own cities. If you come here, you realize that the people who take care of refuse, and it's not the government, that's the private sector. Those are individuals that
Absolutely.
have the knowledge and skillfulness to take care of trash, all different kinds. They know how to separate the plastics from the bottles, from all the different. They know how to reprocess them. They can process the plastics into other useful things that people can use in society. Even what is called dirt can be worse. You can convert it into something useful, and that is done by
Exactly.
the private sector. It's not something done by the government. It's not something where the president will have to tell his ministers to go and do. So it was really a disgraceful presentation. Actually, he was just recounting his failures. Can you imagine that you have been in power for 41 plus years, and you are about to die and go, which is going to happen like Joseph Owona did,
Mm-hmm.
like Jean-Baptiste Bokam just died. All the Achide Achos have gone. The Muketes have gone. Do you think that Biya will stay there for how long? He's dying. And his balance sheet is begging ministers to try and go on the street and clean the streets. And now I saw this champion lady from Bangangte, they call her name, whether Cortes or whatever her name is. She's now trying to champion, they call her Minister of Urban Development, champion cleaning of Yaoundé, trying to
Great.
go and pick some of those debt. Let me see how to put on the garments, the appropriate dressing, and go out and pick that trash where people have urinated on and stooled on in Yaoundé. It's a laughing stock. They will not be able to do that. How many? They have done that before. We saw deals coming down and even dressing up and taking cutlass and begging people to go on the streets, and it's never gone anywhere. You think that is this one noise that Biya made that will do something? That speech was just a presentation of his lamentable failure over the past 40 plus years.
You are absolutely right. Talking about the cost of consumer products going up, complaining about food being expensive. Look at how that land is so fertile. I mean, Cameroon, Southern Cameroon, La Republic of Cameroon, the land in general is so fertile that we should be able to have a very flourishing agricultural department where we even produce food to feed most of the nations in the world. But of course, we have a leader who is supposed to be the president that has no idea what is going on, that is being uh, controlled by France, a puppet of France, so that they can just hone on our minerals, and that is their goal. They talk about the frustrating thing is that when you see all these people in our land and they go from town to town, I'm talking about the white man, have access to our wealth, nobody says anything. They just have open doors to go and do whatever they want to do. We just need our land, Ambazonia. We just need complete control of our land. And Doc, I'm so positive that from all our knowledge and wealth, from all the people that have been trained all over the world, and those who are also Southern Cameroonians that are living in Southern Cameroons, will be able to have a formidable, pardon me, relationship to build our country. Doc, we're going to be ending the program. I just wanted to give any final thoughts about how you see Southern Cameroons going to be in the different, all the different aspects.
Correct.
I'm talking about healthcare, infrastructure, education.
Correct.
What your projection is?
Basically, it's like when you run a marathon race. You remember how we used to have all those races, and people were ready to say, set go, and they shoot the gun, and then you take off. The people of the British Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia, are right there ready to take off as soon as Biya dies and his 40 thieves are swept off into the dustbin of history. It's coming very soon, just like Joseph Owuna is dead. Very soon, just like Jean-Baptiste Bokwam is dead. They will wake up one day and hear that Ned Ndifenji is dead. The other one from the north, calling himself President of the National Assembly, is dead. Biya is gone. All of them will be gone.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they truly will be gone into the dustbin of history. And then Southern Cameroon is going to take off. And the people are ready. Whether I'm gone or not doesn't matter, because I'm ready to go. I know where I'm going. I'm not afraid of death. They are the ones who are afraid of death. So when we are alive, we'll do our part. If we're not there, our children and others will do our part. But Southern Cameroon is ready to take off. They have the wind behind their backs. And as soon as they take off, they will be like Rwanda. They will be like Singapore. It will shock La République du Cameroon. And La République du Cameroon will not be able to recover. See what Biya has done. The Indians, even the Indians in Asia, they came and tried to help him, to teach him how to use tractors to just develop cassava in his area there. He took the tractors and kept them in the farm, and grass was growing over the thing. He does not even know how to use it. If you had given those tractors to people in the Northwest region, we would have produced like they used to produce tea in Duty and Santa Estate. That's how all the different farms would have been all over. All the hills would have been flourishing and would be selling food all over. People used to come from Gabon right to Santa and go to the farm to harvest food that our mothers and fathers planted, vegetation like carrots and all those cabbages and things. People used to come and they were not even going to buy it from the market. They went right to the farm and bought their own and carried it. So we will produce, the land is fertile, and we will transform the country. All that refuse, will convert it into useful energy. We can convert stool into profitable energy. We'll convert the sun into energy. We'll have solar stoves where you don't even need to use gas bottles. You can just use the sun, like we use it to turn the lights on. You use it to cook as well.
Absolutely.
All those things will flourish. We'll bring all the modern forms of energy, all those mountains, whether it's wind energy, solar energy, not to talk of the mentioned dam that we keep talking about, hydroelectric. We will have, the country is going to take off. Anybody who is following Biya is only following, like they say, the proverbial fly that follows a corpse into the grave. Any fellow, whether you are in Ambazonia, former Southern Cameroon, or in La République du Cameroon, anybody following Biya, you're just following the corpse into the grave, and you'll be covered by the dirt and die and perish with him. But if you secede and separate yourself from him, you will take off when we take off. And La Republique literally will learn from us. They'll be jealous of us because we will do much better. We will do much better like our other English speaking nations, like Nigeria does, like Ghana does, and all the English nations, Kenya. Rwanda learned the lesson after the French caused the genocide there. Remember the French caused the genocide in Rwanda?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
people in Rwanda decided to
The
throw
band
away
friendship.
France and their culture,
Mhm.
ban English. See where they are. They have developed
Mhm.
themselves. You stay with the French, it's like a noose on your neck. It
Absolutely.
chokes life out of you and takes you down into your grave. So don't worry about them. They're wasting their time. France is a dead end cul-de-sac. And I'm not saying that English is what we need, but yes, the English is superior to the French. It is your moral character
Mhm.
that determines who you are. And when you are a hardworking, well behaved people, you will do well. The Bible says righteousness exalts a people, but
Mhm.
sin is a reproach to anybody. You can see it in La Republic of Cameroon. The fact that
Yes.
they embezzle, still do all those bad things, that's why the country is going down. But change it to the other way. If people live on their honest salary, use the money for development, and are sincere, hardworking, the country will take a trajectory and would have been more than Singapore today. I mean, Singapore was less than us when Ahidjo was there, and now Singapore is higher than what you can talk of. So it's
Yeah.
really a disgrace what Biya has done to that country. That's what I can say. But no, the future of Southern Cameroon is bright. Whether we're alive or dead doesn't matter. The future of the former British Southern Cameroon is very, very bright. We'll take off. The wind is on our back. The momentum is on our side, and we are going to take off. And only the sky is the limit. What will happen in
Amen to
the future?
that. Amen to that. Because I see a country where the private sector will flourish and the federal government will just be a small part of it. But the private sector will flourish to develop the nation. That's what we will
Exactly.
be, Southern Common. So
Exactly.
please, my people, thank you for watching The Horizon. I want to thank Dr. Lobadi for being our first guest for 2024. And I want to just thank you guys for being with us, for believing in us, for showing Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia that you believe in the people, that deep in your core, you know that Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia deserve to have total control of their own land. The people deserve to be free. And all this genocide that has happened in 2023 has to come to an end. We're just about to end the show. So I want to just thank you all, especially our Ambazonia State Army, which is what we call them now, ASA. We want to thank you for all you're doing for Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. We want to thank our refugees that are suffering in neighboring Nigeria, in Ghana, in Benin, and all over the world. If you're a refugee, we want to thank you because you are a refugee, because you know that you cannot go back home. But just keep on believing, because at the end of it, that land is your land, and your land belongs to you, and you'll go to your land someday. You're not going to stay a refugee forever. I want to thank you all for watching The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman, and we'll be with you guys again next Friday, if not next Friday, the following Friday. Thank you, and this is the voice of the Amber Woman. Thank you so much.
Amen. Amen. Okay. Thank you.
You gave me life, oh mama, queen of my life, oh mama, I will love you for life, oh mama.
Thank you all, especially our Ambazonia State Army, which is what we call them now, ASA. We want to thank you for all you're doing for Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. We want to thank our refugees that are suffering in neighboring Nigeria, in Ghana, in Benin, and all over the world. If you're a refugee, we want to thank you. Because
and the troubles where I pull you through. I remember when money no be there and chop no be there for her. You be the try your best. You go run around to find us something where we go chop. When I dey sick, you know the sleep, you go the cry all night. You go hold me tight, start to pray, say God make you have my oh Lord. Ooh, I wo ye choma. I funga na better ye funga choma. I'm bomb na better ye bomb choma. Chinum ye ga choma, mama awo ye choma. Afunga na bere ye funga choma, ambonga na bere ye bom choma. Ye ga na chinum ye ga choma, mama. Ye ga na chinum ye ga choma, ye ga choma. Oh, you gave me life, oh mama, queen of my life, oh mama. I will love you. Love me so, oh mama. Hey, are you there? You're my motivation. You gave me the best education, mama. The song where I sing, I'm for you. Special dedication to you, oh yeah. I know say every night and day, pray say make a mama. The God where you the pray, I'm for heaven down. Give me this inspiration, mama. The song where I sing, I'm for you. Now to show my appreciation to you. Biya wo ye choma, afunga na bere ye funga choma.